Hi, I want to welcome you to today's conversation. My name is Lonso Inamani. Today, I want to talk to you about um, a subtopic I call transformation through process. Okay, transformation through process. I find it very important and interesting to discuss under this subject of transformation through because many of us, even when we have the right knowledge, even when we have discipline, even when we have organized ourselves, we also need to understand an important element, which is that transformation travels through process. Transformation is process. If I'm to even say it, transformation is process. So it means that you need to come to a point where you understand that why I pursue change, why I desire change, I need to understand that a new word or something I can use to replace change or transformation is process. Okay. I was reading something recently I find very interesting. Forbes list of billionaires listed um, people who are 40 plus years or more as billionaires and millionaires. Okay, so of course there are a few outliers which are trying to find out where those outliers falls in terms of categories. So you see, some of those young billionaires are maybe tech entrepreneurs, uh, crypto guys, people who inherited wealth. Okay, so family wealth that transferred to the next generation. And then, of course, there are other outliers who are also, through investments, through, business ideas, especially within the tech environment, who are embracing, the list. Okay. And I try to dive deeper. Okay, why do we have more billionaires and more millionaires who are older compared to younger? Okay. And one of the things, that I found as a common indicator is time. Okay, so for instance, if you are young, you are starting out of life, you are testing your ideas, you are basically maybe starting a company. The company is 2 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old. But someone who is 40 plus or 50 or 60 must have started something, very long time ago. So you often see them, they are in business for maybe 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Most people you will find as billionaires at the age of 60 have probably invested their time in business or investments over the course of maybe 30 years, 40 years, depending on how early they started. So you understand that success, lasting success must have time. Okay. Like I said, there are outliers. I was going through the profile of the founder of Temu. Okay, so the guy just made billions of dollars in the last business year. Okay. And he just started a tech company, Temu. Of course, with his profile, people don't just become successful overnight. But what I'm trying to say is that sometimes there are outliers who can get into certain kinds of, business segments, and then there's that explosive success. But generally, everybody builds success through time. Okay. And why it's also important to discuss this, especially for some of us as young people, is that, if you find yourself starting, if you find yourself still, building small ideas, small opportunities, um, don't be too in a hurry, to expect yourself to break into success overnight. Okay, give yourself time. Understand that there is a process, connected to this. Okay, so most of the people who were older and successful, we are simply benefiting from the process of time. Okay, so whatever they were doing, travel through time, they gain momentum, they gain experience, they failed, learned from their failure, knew how things work better. So the more they got matured, the more they got experience, the more they got, bigger in terms of scope of their business. Some of them started in one country. After 10 years, they are now in 20 countries. So as it began to grow in scope, That was how their success began to grow. Okay. So it means that anything that you are doing that you expect to bring change, that you expect to bring impact, you must be willing to give it time. And many of us who don't understand the impact of process in bringing change or bringing transformation, most times are not able to stay true consistently. I remember a quote I read some time ago that success is constancy of purpose. So it means that you discover purpose, you become constant, and then you give it time. So transformation is not going to happen overnight. Transformation is going to happen process. Okay. I want to dive deeper on process, and why it's important is that um, without just also looking at process, I also want you to understand that process is also a learning opportunity. More importantly, is also a transition. Okay. One thing I started doing very early in life, for no just reason, is that whenever I find people interesting, whenever I find if anybody make the move, so if I'm watching the news and somebody makes the news, I want to research and know how who the person is, what is their family, where are they coming from, what are they doing. Do people just suddenly appear? I don't think people suddenly appear. Okay. I think people are in process. People are in transformation. And when their transformation has ended and they begin to manifest, everybody just says, oh, wow, this new guy. No, they have been in a process. And if you don't understand the process of transformation and understand how it leads you to a lasting success, many of us can be aborting our process or even making our process longer ignorantly without understanding the role it plays in transformation. Okay. So transformation is not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen through time. So it means that when you begin a process of change, I've taught you guys purpose, I've taught you guys systems, I've taught you guys a lot of things that you can do in order to put your life in check. But I'm not expecting that you're going to do it overnight. Okay. I was speaking with one of the guys I mentor, and I told him that I'm going to be repeating a lot of things I say. I'm going to be repeating a lot of things I teach. And the reason for that is I don't expect you to get the whole concept. I don't expect you to get the whole idea the first time that I've taught it. That is why even a good educational system has repetition. You have to repeat it. You have to give different scenarios until that knowledge is internalized. Also, I think we teach too many things. When we are starting transformation, one of the things I try to also make sure is that I provide you guys a map. Okay. So, and that is why we have the transformation process, which outlines 5 core aspects of the transformation process, which is purpose, personal leadership, relationship, systems, and then outcome. The idea of that is I don't need you to start focusing on too many things, too many ideas, too many, things that does not, predict or give you a specific map towards your success. Success must have a roadmap. Everything you do in life, there's a roadmap. Okay, so if you are traveling through a journey, you have roadmap. You have specific places you are going to stop. You have, landmarks to help you identify whether you are closer to your destination or not. And that is what we are trying to do through transformation process. So that when you look at the compass, I also call it a compass, a transformation compass. When you look at the compass, it can help you know where am I building, where am I not doing well, where do I need to do something better, or where am I doing well that I need to encourage myself more. And those 5 key areas I've studied rich, successful, unsuccessful people, and I can tell you that if you understand purpose, if you build personal leadership, if you understand how to build the right relationships, if you can create systems around your life and you know how to set and accomplish your goals, you are set for success. You don't need complicated ideas, you don't need complicated teaching. And I want to encourage you guys that even some of the things that we have taught, you believe, oh, we taught this, I've learned it, go back to it. Okay. Listen to it more and more. When I listen to myself, most times I see myself taking notes. Okay, because even though I said it, but it's coming afresh. It's coming afresh in the same circumstances, the same scenario, the same knowledge. for different applications. Okay, so we don't need too many ideas. We need to identify what works. And when we identify what works, we piece it together. And what happens is that we begin to build success from it, one iteration after another, putting ourselves in a process. Okay. Now, why process is important is that it's not necessarily the process is not there. Most times we view usually when people are in their process, they view it as suffering. Okay. Remember, there's a lot with mindset I want us to change through this conversation. Okay. There's a lot we attribute to suffering. There's a lot we attribute to pain. That if we can help ourselves understand and just change the mindset for you to know that you are in a process, it makes it easier for you to come out. It makes it easier for you to find the right solution that will lead you, to the success that you are looking for. Okay. So understand that process is also a transition. For you to move from point A to point B, you have to go through a process. Okay. And while you are in that process, it transforms you, changes you, so that you look like the picture that you are pursuing. So your inability to understand that process is most times what keeps us stuck. Like we look at the case study of the children of Israelites, they spent 40 years in the wilderness, not necessarily because it was designed that way, but they didn't understand their process. Therefore, instead of them mastering the process and making it to the exit, they were stuck, died, and never accomplished their purpose in life. Okay. So your process is there as a transition. So to move from point A to point B, there has to be a transition. So when you see yourself trying to build success, when you see yourself trying to, bring transformation or changes in your life, and things are difficult, things are not going the way you plan, see it as transition. See it that you are in a process. Don't see it as suffering. Don't see that something is wrong with you. Somebody is tying you in the village. Be more, pay attention more on yourself. What is changing inside you? What is happening within you? What you are learning? New knowledge that you are gaining through this experience, and how it is all culminating to whoever you are going to become in life. You must understand the process and let the process teach you. Learn from the process. Okay. So anything God is going to do with you in this life, anything you are going to accomplish in this life, you're going to go through a process. And every experience contributes to where you are going. That is why the Bible said that all things work together for those who love God. Now, why are things working together? There are certain things that are happening to you. There are certain experiences that are happening to you then you might just think that, oh, it is me going through life, but they are there preparing, shaping you in that forge so that you can come out better, stronger, and to accomplish the things that God has placed inside you. So transformation is a process, but that process must be seen as a learning opportunity. Now, when you see it as a learning opportunity, when things happen to you, you interpret it differently. You don't say, why me or why is this thing happening to me? The next question is, what happened? What can I learn from it? And how does it make me a better person? How can I use this scenario? How can I use this to make somebody else better? How can I use it to improve life? Now, when there is that mental shift of understanding that in this transition, I'm supposed to learn so that I can get to the other side, it becomes more empowering. It becomes an opportunity for you to start changing. And what happens is that it is right there in that transition that people find success. I was listening to Chili Jake so many years ago, and he said that uh, uh, most times we act as if everything about success was properly organized by us, but success most times people stumble into it. I agree with him. You are going to stumble into success. But you see, why we see it as stumbling into is because we also are not paying attention that, life it looks like you stumbled into it because it's new to you. Probably you didn't imagine it that way, you didn't plan it that way. But you see, all through your life, life was, God was preparing you, moving you towards that particular destination, towards that particular opportunity, through the things that are happening to you, through the opportunities that you are taking advantage of, through you allowing yourself to go through that process, to go through that transition, so that you can come out on the other end. And many people not understanding that keep aborting their process. Keep aborting. When you understand that everything that happens to you is for a reason, it changes your mindset. Instead of something that takes away energy from you, it empowers you to do better, to fight stronger, and to be a better person. Okay. So another thing that makes people to try to avoid their process is that oftentimes process is painful. Okay, process is I've mentioned the fact that it takes time. It's painful and it requires patience. Okay, and most times this is not something that humans enjoy doing. I mean, who wants to be patient? Everybody wants it now. Everybody wants their transformation now. Nobody wants to take time. But you need to understand. For instance, let me give a practical scenario. Um, there was a story, so many years ago about a lady who was a prostitute. Okay, and then finally she gave her life to Christ, and she decided, okay, that she's not going to be a prostitute. Okay, um, she abandoned that lifestyle, abandoned her old age, joined church, started serving God, and then what happened is that she started struggling. Okay, um, something happened on the road. Her phone fell. She didn't have phone anymore, and then there was no food. She has exhausted the money that she has. She doesn't have proper clothes. She can't make her hair. When you look at her, somebody will be asking, what happened to you? Are you sick? What happened to you? No, she will say, no, I'm fine. Please, I'm looking for a job. If you have job for me, please help me. So what happens is that when you look at her and you pity her, naturally, everybody will say that she is suffering. Okay. And then the person going through the suffering is also seeing it as a painful process. They go home, they cry, God, why me? I left all these things to follow you. So why am I struggling? The pastor said that if you leave whatever you are doing and follow God, your life will change. Why is my life not changing? Okay, I go to church, I sing in the choir, I serve, I do everything I'm supposed to do, but I'm suffering. Why is my life not changing? Maybe many of you can relate, or you can relate with a friend, or you can find somebody somewhere who you see going through this thing. Now, let me explain something to you. There is nothing spiritual happening to her. There's nothing spiritual. It's not like the devil. Sometimes we even interpret it that the devil is trying to make things difficult for her so that she can go back to the world. No. Okay, let me give you a right and correct, interpretation of that experience. You see, you had a source of income, okay, something that gives you money, something that gives you, you know, whatever to be able to take care of yourself, and then all of a sudden you severed that source of income. What happens is that there's going to now be a transition. So, giving your life to Christ is moving from point A to point Z. So it's a transformation. It's a process. That means you're going to drop some things, okay? But not just dropping some things, you are also going to take up new things. So it means that by the time you are shutting down your prostitution business, you have to look for a new skill to learn. So let's say, for instance, you say, okay, I have interest in tailoring. I want to learn how to, make clothes. And then you go through the process of learning tailoring. So probably it took you 3 months. And remember, those 3 months, you don't have any source of income. So it's a transition. And instead of looking at your condition and looking at your needs, understand that this is a transition and I am going somewhere. Okay. And then by the time you finish learning, you have to raise the money to start your own business, or you work for someone for some time so that you can raise money to start your own business. Now, that process of transformation, for some people, depending on their energy level, depending on their motivation, depending on their ability to grasp the things that they need to learn fast and move forward, it can take 5 years. Now, why you might perceive it as 5 years of suffering, I want you to see it as transition. How you interpret it matters. I've seen a lot of people when I'm having conversations with them, and they will tell you how things are bad, how these things are difficult, and I'm helping them to understand that you are in a transition. So all you need to do is to understand what is happening. Okay, so that source of income, you closed it because of your love for God. Engage yourself in a new process, and it's going to take time. So all you need to do is to trust God for your daily bread, trust God for being alive, trust God for finding the right relationship. You continue to build consistently and purposefully. You are going to find success. So see it as a transition, see it as a process that leads to the transformation. So transformation is not just a decision, it's a process. So when you make a commitment to change, understand that it's a process. So if I tell you, write down your goals, write down your year plan, write down where you want to be in the next 7 years, I expect you to also understand that what I'm saying to you is that you are getting involved in a process. It's going to take time for you to learn it. It's going to take time for you to understand how to manage your schedule. I've been doing it all my life and I've not even mastered it yet. Okay. And sometimes I'm not even asking myself for mastery. I'm asking myself, how do I stay on top of what I'm doing consistently over time until it gives me the success that I'm looking for? So understand that it is a transition for you. So anything God tells you to do, anything you feel in your spirit that you need to do, it is still going to travel through time. And many people who don't understand transformation in the name of a process often give up, abandon their process, and then go back to what they said they will no longer do. And at the end of the day, they will tell you, no, God failed them. No, you lack knowledge. It had nothing to do with God. It has everything to do with the fact that you did not understand that transformation is a process. So no matter any area of your life where you are seeking change, it is going to require a process of transformation. And it's going to take time. So you need to be able to absorb the pain. You need to be patient with yourself and you need to allow yourself to grow. I was speaking to a young couple. They just got married. Things are not so bright and few challenges here, few issues here. And when I was talking to them, I said, do you know that your starting was bigger than your start? And they were like, how? I said, okay, currently you live in a self-contained house. Okay, you have a room, you have a parlor, you have kitchen and all that. I said when I started, I just started in a room. There was no parlor. Okay, when I had my first son, I was living with my wife in a room. Okay, but we consistently built over time. Okay, when I show people my wedding picture, they are like, is this you? And they will laugh. But today, nobody even remembered whether I did wedding or not. The point is that it is not where you started. It's your commitment to the process, to where you want to go. That is what matters. Nobody remembers how you started. Nobody remembered whether you were thin or whether you were fat or whether there was something wrong with you. Once you succeed, the only thing people remember is your success. And that is why you must keep your eye on the goal, keep your eye on your transformation, and don't stagger with unbelief. Don't stagger into trying to justify your pain or to start pitying yourself. Okay? Other people have this, but I don't have that. Don't bother about people. Don't bother about what they have. Just stay in your transition. There are people that might look better than you today, that you are going to see that you are better than them tomorrow. Because possibly they are at the end of their own transition. They are manifesting their transformation. One of the things I'm going to teach maybe in the future is the danger of success. Okay. And when we talk about the danger of success, it's not just big success. Okay. Small little success, small goals achieved. It has danger. For the fact that you have been achieving your goals consistently for the past 1 month can be danger. When the Bible says that pride goes before a fall, it's not just talking about kings falling. Sometimes you achieve something little. And because you are achieving something little, you slip back, you start relaxing because you believe you've achieved success. That is what the Bible is saying. There are little momentary successes that lead to failure that many of us are unaware of because we are not consistently building. Okay. So I was encouraging them, telling them, no, see, you are even the way you are is even bigger than when I started. The only thing is that I never allowed my pain, I never allowed myself to suck, to go into that pain. I never allowed myself to lose patience. I never allowed myself to lose sight of what I was, looking ahead for. I stayed consistently on that path. And each year things keep getting better. Each year things keep getting brighter. Because at every point in time, if you stay consistently to those goals, you are also going to be seeing results in your life. So don't skip your process. Some of you are at a point in your life where you are building skill. That's what it is. You are building skill. Focus on it. Others are buying different things, doing different things, but for you, this is the time for skill development. And when you are done with skill, it doesn't mean that you might need to maybe work for someone for some time before starting on your own. All these things are processes, but you are heading somewhere. Transformation is a process and it travels through time. You might not be a millionaire at the age of 30, but you can still be a millionaire at the age of 40. You can still be a millionaire at the age of 50. If you are a millionaire at the age of 25, awesome. Great job. But you can see that most successful people, you have more successful people who are older compared to young people. And there's nothing else. It's not that old people are wiser. Of course, they have accumulated wisdom through experience. But it is time. It's like planting a tree. You put a tree in the ground, okay? You have to give it time to grow. Planting a mango seed and planting a corn, it's not the same process. The timings are different. And that is why one of the worst things that you can do when you're in your process is to compare yourself with somebody else. There might be a seed for Iroko tree, there might be a seed for mango. Why do you need to compare? I never compare myself with anybody. There will always be people I'm better than, and there will always be people who are better than me. The goal is not to compare to find out who you are better than or who is better than you. The goal is to ask yourself, with what I've been given, what I know, while being in my process, what what can I use to accomplish it? Another thing I want to say about process is that process never actually ends in your life. Okay. At the end of every process is the beginning of another process. And that was why I was talking about danger of success, where people believe that it's like you had a goal to start a business and then you started the business. You see, people relax, thinking, oh, I've achieved something. Yes, you've achieved something. Celebrate it. Hooray, you started your business. But there's a new challenge you need to scale. There are competitors in the business. How do you overcome and become successful? Maybe in your state. Awesome, you've achieved success. Okay, what about other states? Okay, what about the whole country? Okay, why are you restricted to your country? What about other African countries? Okay, what about America? What about Europe? What about Asia? So you see, every new level or every achievement of transformation is an introduction to a new transformation. You remember how successful or how happy you are when you graduated from primary school? Okay, but from that graduation, you entered secondary school, which is a new process, new teaching, new curriculum, new friendship, new everything. You are starting afresh, but you have also accomplished something. So when you understand that it is process after process, it is transformation after transformation. The Bible puts it this way: the path of the just shines brighter and brighter unto a perfect day. So when you understand this, there is no room to give up. There is no room to abort the process. You now understand that I am building freedom. I'm getting better. I'm growing in my level, in my ability to organize. I'm growing in my ability to get things right. Okay. So you need to understand. This is how I summarize it so that I'll be able to take, some question. You need to understand that God is a God of process. God is not a God of miracle. Especially growing up in Nigeria, growing up in Africa, we have this mindset that our miracle is on the way. That somewhere, somehow, things are going to happen. Why I believe in miracles, why I have seen massive miracles in my life, tangible miracles in my life. You can't even take it away from me. Okay, this is a miracle, it's a miracle all done. Why I believe in miracle? I believe more in process. I believe that God is a God of process. And that is why many of us misinterpret deliverance. So you go to church, they pray for you, you fall on the ground, the demon goes out. Also, you have to stand from your feet and then you have to begin a process. Whether it is a business, whether it is your career, whether it is your study, anything you want to do, you must bring yourself into that process and then you consistently transform through time to manifest who you are supposed to be in life. Okay? So it is process through growth. And that is also what shows freedom. That is also what shows maturity. Okay? People who are liberated depend on miracles. People who are free depend on process. When the Israelites left Egypt, they succeeded with their daily manna. But the moment they entered the promised land, the Bible said that the manna stopped. Why? They needed to till the ground. They needed to understand seasons. They needed to understand seeds. They need to understand how to do agriculture, how to do farming. They need to understand security. They need to understand nation building. That was why Moses was helping them to draw out constitution. Why most people, I find it very fascinating that when people read the Bible or the Old Testament, they mostly see things about prayer, about prophecy, about the power of God. From Genesis to Revelation is a book of process. It's a book of process. I don't know how I'm able to, each time I look into the Bible, the only thing I see is process. You know, Thank God the Ten Commandments was powerful. Moses was on the mountain for 40 days, had powerful experience with God. God came down with cloud. But do you understand that each time Moses comes down, what he does is to set a system. Moses did not institute a place of worship. Moses was setting up systems. That was when he wrote marriage laws. Some of the things we have as moral code today was when Moses was designing the nation of Israel. He wrote codes about marriage. He wrote things about the justice system. If murder happens, how do you treat a murderer? If it happens by mistake, how do you treat the person? You know, land ownership. How do you manage waste? Planting seasons. When you look at the Bible, a lot was done by Moses that has to do with nation building, that has to do with processes. And that is why when I look at Africa's model of Christianity that does not translate to nation building, I always ask, what aspect of the Bible are we reading? Because every encounter with God must lead to transformation. Every encounter with God must lead to transformation. And what do I talk about in terms of transformation? It must lead to processes. Okay? It must lead to organization. It must be able to self-govern. It must be able to create a society that governs itself and is independent of external forces, not reliant on any other economy, but building consistently, you know, with systems under God in order to create transformation around the world. Okay, so this is how I end it. Understand that anything God is going to do with you and through you needs time. Okay, and that is why the earlier you understand your purpose, I can't overemphasize this. The earlier you understand your purpose, the better, so that you can start building consistently. Okay, the earlier you discover it, sometimes success is connected to age. Okay. And that is why I think I'm going to, because of time, I'm going to mention this, deeply next time. So if your vision or the calling and purpose of God over your life is connected to being a footballer or being a sports person, and you are 30 years old, you've not discovered it. You see, getting back into that environment is going to be very difficult because there was an age to start off that process and you have missed it. I also believe destiny can be changed. I believe that someone's destiny can be changed. I believe that if you miss the timing, God can recalibrate you and still give you and repurpose you and they channel you. It is scriptural. It is scriptural. Somebody might be asking that. You remember when God took a prophet of Israel? to the house of the potter. And then while the potter was making a clay, the clay gold. And the Bible said that the person who was making the potter took it and molded it into another thing. So what happens is that no destiny can be broken entirely. No destiny can be a mess in the eyes of God. Even when you reach your process, even when you truncate your transformation, if you have a steady relationship with God, what happens is that He's able to take that clay, remold it into something new, even something better and more glorious to His power and to His name. So I want to encourage you stay consistent. Don't absorb your pain, learn from it. Okay, be patient. Understand that you need process, you need time to go through the transition and become all that God wants you to be. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm looking forward to meeting you guys next week. Thank you. So thank you for tuning in. If you have been listening to us, I believe you are getting value out of this conversation. So I would like to encourage you to, subscribe, like, share, let other people be part of what you are, listening to and also enjoying. And if you'd like to join the community, please click the link in the description to join our WhatsApp group. We hold meetings every Tuesday that you can be part of. And we also have mentorship classes that you can, find someone that will help you and assist you in your journey of transformation. Many of us are not successful not because we can, but because we are suffering alone. You do alone. Get involved and let's do it together. See you next week. Bye.